Hi everyone, welcome back to another exciting edition of Who Gives a Shit About MBTI? I'm your host, Street Urchin, and last episode we talked about the cognitive functions and their specific definitions, which I'm positive that most people didn't like. But you know, it's that level of discourse, that level of disagreement, that causes us to learn and grow as a community. Also, I hate you. But I was recently informed by my doctor that I'm at minimal risk for stroke, so let's continue on with part 2 of the MBTI basics, the function stack. I was recently having an argument with someone on Facebook, because, you know, that's such a rare occurrence, about the function stack and how we can use it to make generalized predictions about someone's interests, hobbies, career choices, etc. They essentially told me that the function stack itself is rather irrelevant, and you can find all personality types in all aspects of life. As the migraine was kicking in, they decided to double down on their projection and inform everyone that in actuality, there were many NT types that spent most of their time in sports and physical activities. You're part of their life. Now, it did prompt me to ask questions like, have you ever read anything from an official MBTI source? Have you ever heard of MBTI stereotypes? Were you dropped on your head as an infant? But I instead decided to take a deep breath and give them the benefit of the doubt. And wouldn't you know it, I was wrong. Yep, there's Stephen Hawking with the fadeaway jump shot, busting right through that Einstein-Isaac Newton coverage. Da Vinci doesn't even know what the hell is going on, it looks like, and Napoleon is wondering how his foolproof plan could have gone so wrong. But in all seriousness, the function stack is how we figure out why personalities behave the way that they do. It's how we can explain why the general INTP is an Aspergery D&D nerd who's big into programming, and how the typical ESFP is an airhead who most people describe as basic, and their grand adventure any given day of the week is heading to the Gap. Given how important it is, I feel that it's necessary to explain two things. 1. What is the usage of a function given its place in the stack? 2. How can you use the stack to identify those pesky mistypes on YouTube and social media? The first two make up your core personality, which I like to call lead and active. The lead function is so strong, and here's the kicker, most people don't even realize it's their lead function. It's so ingrained that it's just a normal part of their life, and most wouldn't even know how to live without it. That's the tricky part, and is easily the second biggest reason why people mistype. The first being people don't even bother to read the cognitive functions in the first place. The second function, or active function, is simultaneously the function you're consciously aware of, and what most people know you for. If you're known as a hard-working employee who doesn't ask many questions, you might be an ISTJ. Conversely, if you're known as a storyteller who always knows what the right course of action is, you might be an ESTJ. The next two functions, tertiary and inferior, are what I like to call the balancing functions, which I will really get into in a later video. Essentially, the tertiary function isn't highly preferenced, but it does make itself regularly known. In the case of the ISFJ, they're mostly doing things traditionally while actively sacrificing for the well-being and harmonization of their current group. But they will regularly ask why when posed with a course of action or decision that doesn't make sense to them. Not that they won't go along with the group, but they do wish to understand the rationale. The inferior function, however, is treated with general disdain until later in life. The personality is aware of its existence, and perhaps some of its inherent importance, and will inevitably strive to understand it. Using the ENFP personality as an example, they're usually too busy trying to get people to like them in new and exciting ways, but will always be plagued with remembering how society and tradition expects them to be. Once they get much older, though, they start incorporating traditional values in with their means of charisma, using it as a shortcut to get their desired results. The next part can be a little difficult, as it's pretty hard to tell what someone's personality is based on what they're typing or saying. But it's pretty easy to figure out what they aren't. I've been trolling around the YouTube for the past few years now, and it seems like the most common mistype is INFJ. INFJ mistype, news at 11! So when you have an understanding of the cognitive functions and the first two positions in the function stack, you'll really start to wonder how it is these people can mistype so badly. I'm so, understanding and caring about people's feelings, and, no one gets me, but I really like talking about myself and my own personal feelings and telling complete strangers about it on Facebook and YouTube, so that makes me an INFJ. Actually, it makes you a fucking idiot. In reality, every time an actual INFJ watches one of your videos or reads one of your articles, they are in actual pain. They won't voice their opinions or lay down the contradictory truth, as it could potentially disturb the virtual environment and lead to some level of ostracizing. So they'll just sit, complain, and then ask me to do a video on it. So, some quick tips. Don't bother wondering if that person is an N or an S type. The reason for that being that S types don't really care about MBTI in any of its capacities. Not saying that an S type won't talk to you about it, especially if they think it might get them laid. They are not going to be the ones that make YouTube videos or write blogs about it. You just have to figure out which of the 8 intuitives you're actually talking to. Are they talking about feelings? Are they asking why and probing for inconsistencies? Are they primarily using copy and paste and links to articles and studies? Is their subject matter about different scenarios and perspectives? These are just a few examples and they don't encompass the entire personality, but you should be able to get a feel for which functions they preference with a little bit of deductive reasoning. In terms of who you're most likely to come across though, in regards to MBTI, ENFJ, INFP, INTJ, ENFP. I named 4 out of the 8, and it's not that the other 4 don't care about MBTI, they're just less likely to speak up about it for various reasons. They easily and frequently call themselves INFJs. They're far too calm and composed in their YouTube videos. They almost always have someone with them in said videos. They look very put together. It's almost as if they have a preference for the physical world. They will also tell people they're INFJs, and in reality, they're the INFJ you're most likely to talk to. Their videos are all about their personal feelings on whatever subject they're talking about. I think one of them even said they were a postmodernist, which means you automatically fail the FETI test. God help you. I pray to Lord Keck that you see the folly of your ways. These ones here often have a very high opinion of themselves. As soon as you say something they don't like, they will be the first ones to attack you on your authority and credibility. To an INTJ, the only thing that matters is groupthink and personal identity, in that order. If you're not agreeing with them about what they read on an MBTI website that made them feel good, then your points, regardless of how legitimate, are now invalid, and that you're just mad or too stupid to understand how 2 plus 2 actually equals 22. Father and brother are actually ENFP, so... They come off as very confident in how other people feel, in both text and vocalization. They mostly just want to talk about the positives of MBTI and not necessarily how it affects them personally. So they're one of the first people to just go ahead and acknowledge the views of everyone, regardless of how outside objective reality the views actually are. You can have your view, and you can have your view. Everyone else can have their own view. Very forgiving when it comes to objective reasoning. So remember, when you're looking up MBTI on videos or blogs, you're most likely going to come across one of these 4 types. And of course, if you're looking for an INFJ on YouTube, I just want to point out, I've been searching for 2 years. I haven't found one yet. And I think if most people actually knew what an INFJ normally acts like, no one would want to be an INFJ. I don't even think INFJs want to be INFJs. I know this was a relatively short video, but I hope it was entertaining all the same and just as educational. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them down below, and we'll catch you next time.